Greetings, folks. Welcome to another very special After Hours 0 Hour 2113 special. As you can see, we still haven't got the books yet, so we've still got the funky cardboard. Okay, this time I'm joined again by the mastermind of this, cyberpunk madness, Mr. David Green. How are you doing, sir? Shaking his head. It's very early for us.
Yeah, I'm quite delicate this morning. I forgot what day it was altogether, so I actually forgot it was Saturday today. So I was like, I think I've got nothing to do in the morning. So I was like, I'll have a few drinks, watch Red Dwarf. And then I got messages this morning saying, are you all ready for 10 o'clock? And I was like, oh, no.
Seriously?
Yeah, I actually, my alarm went off and I'm like, why the hell is my alarm going off? I haven't set my alarm for like months. And all of a sudden it's going off when I've got a hangover. It's just like,
this is because you've already done this. So this is old news for you, whereas Hattie and I have been looking forward to, and Katie have been looking forward to this all day.
Yes.
We've always woke up, so it's not all day for us.
yeah, exactly.
Of After Hours, you're the only one from that side of the hemisphere that's on the call. Everyone else.
Yeah, bloody Greg. I knew it. I knew he'd do it.
Yeah.
The reason I said this and wanted to set this up in the first place is because Greg always whinges when I do anything like this. Because it's like, oh, but it's 4 a.m. for me. So
Oh,
like,
and
right, I'll do a special for you. And he turned up on the last one with his pictures of Willies, which was great.
Yeah, I saw those.
Yeah, some stunning artwork. And I knew he wouldn't turn up on this one. I just knew it. But it means we have our second guest, Ximena Escobar. How are you doing?
Hey.
Ximena, by the way.
Huh? You what?
It's Ximena.
Ah, okay. Ximena.
Yeah.
Right, cool. Sorry. Yeah. My bad.
It's good, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're in Australia now?
I am, yes, in Pearl Beach, New South Wales. On a mini holiday. Without the kids, just my husband.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Without your husband?
He can watch whatever he wants now on the telly now that I'm here. He had to watch a series still before.
Yeah, fighting over the remote control. That's a constant one in my house as well. I want to watch this. Well, I want to watch this. Yeah. Yeah, so you're originally from Santiago?
Yes,
Chile?
That's right. I'm from Chile, but I met Jake on a plane. He's Australian, and we moved to Sydney. And then 3 years later, we moved to the UK, and we stayed there for 15 years. And then we've just come back to Sydney.
Did you get bored of the crap weather?
There's a few places that I call home. Yeah.
Yeah, it's too wet. I'm going to Australia. Yeah. That happens to a lot of people, doesn't it? Right, so moving down from sunny Cambridge, who I've got to say, got the best mascot ever sitting next to her, old Squid Face himself.
Oh, Squidly.
Yeah. Well, I've got one of mine here as well, actually.
Oh,
so yeah. Oh, and this lot as well. There's always octopods lurking. Yes, so we've got K.T. Tate. I'm destroying everything. Winky the eight.
Having a Godzilla moment.
Yes, yeah. Tentacles. Just swiped all my fake candles all over the floor. Oh, well. How are you doing then?
Not too bad. I'm awake. It's a Saturday. Those things are good. It's raining.
As it gets.
Weather's terrible,
same here.
but it's England, so...
Yeah, it's absolutely tipping it down here.
Not like I can go out in it anyway, so...
No, exactly. This is it.
It's not raining for once, actually. I've got the sunshine.
Oh,
really? That's bizarre.
It's one of the signs of the apocalypse, so I'm very scared about it.
Yeah, it was like one time I went back up to Manchester and it was sunny. I was like, oh God, we're all doomed.
It's unheard of.
Sunshine in Manchester, that's not a good sign.
That's why we're so pale, like, because where we've lived for our lives.
Yeah, I don't think anybody who lives in who's like come from Macclesfield has ever had a tan. We often have one red side of the face because it's constantly whipped with horizontal drizzle.
That can't be a real place.
What, Macclesfield? Yeah, yeah, my hometown, man. Yeah, where Ian Curtis from Joy Division comes from. Yeah,
there's some very weird places in the northwest of England. There's like
Mendees.
Yeah.
Indeed.
My favourite name of place in the northwest of England is Skelmersdale.
Nice.
Which is a wonderful place as well, actually, full of opportunity and life.
There's actually a little village right between Macclesfield and Stockport. There's actually a little village called Knob End.
Knob End.
Knob End. Yeah. It's one of those things when you're a kid and you're in like a primary school class and you get like an ordnance survey map of the local area. And the first thing everybody does is circle Knob End. Right, so our final guest today, who I thought was still in New Zealand, but he's not. Which is another. See, this idea of me doing this Down Under special has gone so well. Yeah, because you're now in Italy, is that right?
That's true.
Whereabouts?
Very near to Torino.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
You've been on the wine, sir?
I don't drink.
Oh, right. Ah. Right, yes. So, Harry Navarro, indeed.
I wouldn't be drinking
the one person who
in the morning anyway, Tim.
Eh?
I said I wouldn't be drinking at 20 past 11 in the morning anyway, would I? No.
No.
No. No. That would be ridiculous.
Nice. Yeah, I've got to say that out of all, the whole anthology, I keep calling it anthology, but it isn't an anthology. It's a thing. I don't know what it is. What is it?
What is it?
Collection?
Hey, David, what is it?
Yeah.
I think thing is the best way to
thing. Yeah. I was trying to explain it on my live reading last night, and I was kind of like, it's the cyberpunk sort of thing.
I wrote this thing.
Yeah.
We could say it's a shared world anthology. That's
good.
There you go.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. That's what we can say.
That's but out of the whole thing, I've got to say that I'm pretty sure I caught an STD off your story, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
It just oozes filth.
What are you saying, Mr. Mendees?
I'm saying it's awesome. Uncomfortable reading in the best possible way.
Because,
right.
No responsibility.
No. Right, what I did last time, I asked everybody...
I don't quite know how you read books if you caught an STD.
Well, you got to turn the page with something, haven't you?
Oh!
Right, last time we were on, we went round and we asked everybody what was their inspiration, like for their story. We had some quite amusing banter of it. Obviously, we've already asked him up here. So we'll go around. We'll start with Ximena. So what inspired your piece?
Well, David's enthusiasm inspired me. I was a bit intimidated by the whole project, to be honest, at the start.
I think we all were.
Yeah, because I've never read any cyberpunk or played games or anything like that. It's like not really my scene at all. But I feel like an outsider most of the time anyway, so that was good. But yeah, I often like to start with an emotion or an idea. So I needed to find that really, like in this case it was, if you had heightened vision and sound, what would you feel? Therefore, even if I had a plot basically that was one of the ideas that David suggested, I started with that other character that I made up that was struggling basically to digest this heightened world, because that was going to get me going, more the
right, yeah,
the idea of like a human conflict, you know. And then I read Chris's and David's stories, and so I picked up a few things from them, and then I didn't read anything else. I just thought I'm going to go with what I've got, and little by little things start to happen, you know. In this case,
that surprises me because yours was incredibly intricate, like with the world. I mean, I thought like the way you wrote the world in your piece was incredibly vivid. So I thought you were like some kind of cyberpunk geek, but
well,
but obviously not.
I did watch Blade Runner many times because I studied the synoptics of it. This was 20 years ago, and that's what I had in my head. Those were the visuals that I had in my head, and I love Katie said about my story that it's read like a art house film, and that's exactly what I was seeing it as a film. So because that was the only thing that was cyberpunk to me, you know, because I didn't really know what it was. So I was just picturing this this depressing, you know, cyberpunky visual that I borrowed from Blade Runner, and I was sort of describing it as if I was looking at it with a camera. And then I had all these floating nouns, I think. Yeah, you know, like the eye is doing this and this is doing that, because I'm looking at it as a photograph, you know.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, because I tend to visualize when I write as well. Well, you've done a damn good job of visualizing it. But the thing is, I think cyberpunk is a very visual. It's very aesthetic, isn't it? It's you know, a very visual thing. You got the fashions and all the neon and the chrome and I mean, that's what I instantly think.
And that's what genres are, aren't they? Really, it's a look, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's like steampunk. It's just goths and brown leather and cogs, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, it is. I remember I went to a gig, which turned out to be there was a band on Albany Park, and it's a cyberpunk thing, and you can tell all those fans. You could tell. Oh, don't start with that again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Not Oasis, no, not on my watch. No, no, and you could tell the divide in the audience because you had all those trad goths in black leather, and you had all the young kiddie steampunk lot in brown leather, and that was the only difference between them. Right, so we'll move down to.
And there were pirates everywhere on both sides of the.
Yeah, you were a pirate, weren't you, Tim?
I was, yes.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It had to have been.
Oh, God, I was so drunk throughout every single show. Like, so incredibly drunk. Well, we had this thing good, because it is like a folk tradition that to warm your taste buds, you're supposed to gargle port. Now, I never figured out that you weren't supposed to swallow it. So
Why?
Right, so we'll move
Why
down.
weren't you supposed to swallow it?
Because you get too pissed that you can't play your instrument.
Ah.
Yeah, like when we first started, I was supposed to be playing instruments, like various bits and pieces, like baran and flutes and things like that. And it was after a while, I just ended up doing vocals, and they ended up changing my thing on the sleeve from like instruments and vocals to just rum and vocals, which gave me a radio mic and told me to bugger off in the audience. Okay. Right, so we'll move down to K.T. Tate. What was your inspiration?
David mainly. Again.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Well, I try not to say too much because obviously writing the last chapter with all the secrets and reveals. But David came to me and said, right, so this is the thing that's going to happen when 0 hour hits. Do something with it.
Yeah.
So I kind of went into a big comic book geek. I mean, I'm a big fan of cyberpunk anyway, but I'm a big comic book geek, and I kind of thought to myself, okay, so like what would a really big, like smart supervillain, like a Lex Luthor type supervillain, why would they make this happen? What would happen? Why would they think of something to do this? Like, what would make the whole thing?
Yeah.
Especially in the world setting.
Yeah. That's interesting because there's got to be some kind of rationale behind it, hasn't there, really? He's got to have some kind of motivation.
Yeah, you can't just be crazy.
Chapter, Katie? Other than David, or is it just me? Has anyone actually read Katie's chapter other than David?
Oh, I've read like half of it, I think.
Oh.
The first, when he did the first half of it, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Some people read it. Everyone that's read it loves it, which is like I knew it as soon as I've seen it in pieces when KT was sending it across, and like every single time, like it was amazing. When I read it fully, like I was like, people are going to love this. And then I know a couple of people that read it and they were both like, this is a great ending. And just a great chapter. Anyway, even if it wasn't an ending, it's a great chapter. So, no, I think people on the team, like some people didn't want to read it. Wait.
I don't. I want to get the book. I want to find out what happens when I've got the book, you know.
Well,
I'm like that with all of these 13 projects.
Of writing it, it was fantastic that we didn't know how the story ended. We were all leading toward this one specific point in time, and there was I had no clue what Katie was going to come up with. So.
I think you might be a bit surprised.
I hope so.
Yeah, definitely. I hope so. You know, I mean, because it's so diverse. I mean, we were discussing this last time. I mean, the diversity in it is pretty good, pretty phenomenal, really, because you've got obviously Harry's chapter, which is sort of, you know, well, you'll know when you read it. But you've got Chris Banner's body horror, which is,
awesome.
Yeah,
that's a great chapter.
Yeah,
I wanted to kill her. I just wanted to beat her villain up so much.
That was a gut punch of a chapter, that one, Chris's.
Oh, God, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got Greg Cunningham's ZZ Sputnik video. It is. It's basically like a cross between Mad Max and an 80s music video. It's brilliant. Yeah.
The thing with people not knowing the ending, though, when they're working on chapters, that I think that worked quite well because, like, the characters that are in those chapters don't know what's going on either. And in a way, like, the thing that's going to happen does affect them, but it doesn't affect their daily lives because that was the whole point, was that in this 24-hour time period, we wanted to put links to other chapters, and we wanted to put links to what is going to happen in the larger world. But it was all just telling these stories of what might happen with these people.
I think the exception to that is probably my character, Kroon, because he knows something is going on, but he's completely deluded about what's going on. So he thinks it's robotic penguins.
I just see you when I read that chapter. I just see you as Kroon with the lipstick and everything.
Oh yeah.
that last paragraph, Tim, of yours, that was I love that. It was awesome.
Well, what I did for your chapter.
No, the paragraph of your it was in your coda. I don't know. I'm not sure if it's.
Yeah.
Image. It was like, and the way that you wrote it was awesome. Loved it.
Yeah,
And I loved how your character also was the thread that linked us all together. It was great. Really cool.
Yeah, David basically said to me, he goes, "Do you want to just write loads of Kroon bits? We can just put them in." so I was like, "Yeah, okay." I'll just
treat.
Yeah. See, with that as well, like you talked about last time, you talked about the Running Man was being that one. I always kind of thought about with that was, Big Trouble in Little China.
Jack Burton.
Jack Burton, yeah.
He was, that was an inspiration because that's one of my favourite films. So.
Well before my time, sorry. What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at?
So we move on to you now. So what inspired your chapter?
What inspired my chapter?
Yeah, because I think it's because I got like Videodrome vibes from it and things like that. You know,
Mine was very similar to Jimenez. It was because I always see things visually. I always see things like films. Yeah. Like my stories as being filmed, so I have to populate them. I have to find actresses and actors to play the different parts, or it just doesn't work. And what the inspiration for mine was, apart from David Green, was rejection, because it was actually 2 or 3 rejections. Swished together like that.
Brutal, isn't it, when that happens? Really.
No, that's where the story came from. It's 3 different stories that I had rejected from various different places, and I just stuck them all together. That's why at the end of it, it really doesn't make any sense, because you were talking about about the narrator.
Yeah.
The narrator never was not supposed to be like that. It was from another story, but then at the end of it, it kind of made sense that you didn't quite know if the stuff was happening or not.
Yeah, well, I loved that sort of unreliable narrator thing. I mean, I thought that was yes, well, so well done.
I used to live in the Docklands as well. So that was good.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I could visualize.
It wasn't a shithole when I was there, because that was when Canary Wharf was just coming into being. So it was.
Oh right, yeah. When it was still, when it was still.
Which is kind of cyberpunking when you think about it. This
it is
massive financial center rising up out of the filth of the docks.
Yeah, because they were a fucking mess back then. It was like you took your life in your own hands going down there back then. Well,
my dad used to be in the Merchant Navy, and he used to go there, and they're a hardy bunch, but they would like refuse to get off. They refused to walk through the Isle of Dogs at night. It was like
Isle of Dogs, blimey.
Yeah. So basically, that was it. Rejection.
That's really interesting. Yeah, and the thing is, I think we've all probably had that, haven't we? Where you get that.
Oh yeah.
And you got to try and pull a rabbit out of the hat.
I also do that a lot. When there's a deadline, an anthology opportunity, and there's 2 weeks notice or whatever, and because I'm quite slow to write, really. But the reason I make it is because I have this piece that was rejected. I read it, and I and that new anthology call gives me the idea of how to make it make sense, or become something.
Yeah.
And then, and it's,
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I never throw anything out. I mean, all my drafts and everything, I keep everything. And every now and then something will pop up and I'll go, hang on, didn't I write something that was vaguely like that? And I'll sort of look at it and go, ooh, yeah. Yeah. I think I try and explain this to what, mate?
Well, who wrote this rubbish? Oh, that's right, it was me.
Yeah, it was me. Who wrote this shit? Oh, it was me. I try and explain this to people, because I mean, some people take rejections really, really hard. Yeah, right. But you got to try and explain to people. There was actually somebody on one of the groups a while ago who apparently every time he got a story rejected, he would delete it. Just completely delete the story and throw it away. And I was like, no.
No.
Just don't know. It's just, what are you doing?
I know who that person is. And I don't think they'll be listening to this. And they once came to me and was like, will you give me some feedback on this story that got rejected? And I was like, yeah, sure, send it to me. And he was like, I've deleted it now. I was like, how am I going to give you feedback on it if you've deleted it? And he was like, well, it was about this. I was like, well, it sounds so, yeah.
I can't imagine you doing that, We were talking about this a while ago, weren't we, David? Didn't Tolkien do stuff like that?
Yeah, he did, yeah. This is on our first.
It was, yeah.
He was. It's mad, really, to think that he was a discovery writer, which is the polite way of saying that you make it up as you go along. So he was working on the Silmarillion, which was his main work, and it was that was really detailed. And he had notes and made up language.
I still don't understand it. To this day, I still can't make head nor tail of the fucking thing.
Lord of the Rings, like he was basically, his publisher just was like, make a sequel to The Hobbit, because The Hobbit was successful. So he was like, okay. So he was like, right, I'll write about this bit from the Silmarillion. And he just started it as a sequel to The Hobbit. So that's why even now in the finished book, at the start, you have the bits where there's like talking foxes and all this kind of stuff. And
yeah.
And it goes into something darker. But what he would do is he would write it, and he'd just write it and write it and write it. And he'd get to a point where he'd be like, okay, I'm not really sure where to go now. And he'd delete everything that he'd written and start again from the start. And he did this several times. I mean, it's about 14 years for him to write The Lord of the Rings, like, and that's because he was just hit a wall, start again.
Yeah, and all the paper on the fire.
In Tolkien's time, it would have been paper, so he would have just been screwing up those manuscripts,
screwing it up, chucking it on the fire. Yeah.
Imagine Tolkien screwing up paper. He would have taken it very neatly and just got a circle. That's cool. But no, yeah, that's the way. Like,
don't say anything important. I'm going to get another drink. I'll be back in a second.
Okay.
Excellent.
But I suppose like some people do that though. Like it's just people's process, isn't it? Like I said to someone one time, I was like, I write it because I'm with my son all day, so I don't get to write during the day. I was like, well, I just write it in my head, and then I just sit down and type it out. And they're like, what do you mean, like rough? And I was like, no, like word for word, I'll have it written in my head, and I can just see it and just type it. And they're like, that's quite weird.
I see it in images in my head, and I hear the dialogue in my head, but I don't see the words. That's what gives you. Yeah, we talked about that before. He actually sees the words in his head, which is weird. Yeah.
I have images. I work on images as well.
Yeah.
I don't throw anything out, but I might leave something for several months because I have the problem that the longer a story is, the more I think it's awful.
Yeah.
So if I write something that's 100 words, I'm usually like, this is good. This'll do. Even if it gets rejected, I'm like, nah, it's fine. It's good. It's good. I know it's good. I can tell from reading it. But if it's like 500 words, still works. Anything that goes over about 1.5k, I start losing it. I'm like, I don't know if this is good anymore. What am I writing? Where am I going? This is why I only really write short stories, because as soon as it starts to get especially if it hits 3k, then it's like, I have no idea. It's like being lost in the middle of a city. And I'm just like, nope, I don't know if this is good. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know if this is a bad area of town or not.
Yeah. You see,
I feel exactly the same way. I can't write long form. No way.
Sorry, what did you say?
Oh, sorry, I said that I feel exactly the same way. I can't write long form. I tried. There was for the Black Hat Press underground thing. I slaved over a story to get to that 30,000 words, and I finally got there, and I hated it. It was. I didn't only hate what I wrote, but I also hated the experience of getting there. It was like after I could have condensed that story down into, like KT was saying, like into 1,000 words, and it was still been just the same.
Well, I'm the exact opposite.
I still have that story, and I'm breaking it apart, and I'm using it for other things.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite. You asked me to do a drabble, and
I heard you talking about that the other day. That you don't do the drabble, do you, Tim?
I can't. I do the occasional one, but I really struggle with them. Because I tend towards the longer end of things. Novellas are my sweet spot. And he always jokes that if I try and do a drabble, it turns into a novella, which is a fair comment, to be absolutely honest with you.
It's not a joke, it's a fact.
Yeah, don't bring up cursed.
You did get a novella from that though as well, which is like, this is what I mean, it's a fact. You ended up getting a novella from something that was supposed to be 250 words.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fair cop. Yeah. It is a fair cop.
In the last year of meeting all you people and talking to everyone and getting involved, that is my favourite story that I've heard from anyone. was that. Do you all know about this? It was so funny. So we got invited for this micro anthology thing, which is called Cursed. It just came out yesterday, actually, and it was 9 stories, right? About like it was all because there was a princess version of it, and then we were doing a wizard's version, and it was like five drabbles and then 4 stories that were 250 words, and they didn't need to be linked or anything like that, but some people did do it and what have you. So we ordered them anyway, and then Tim approached the publisher and was like, "Can I get an extension on this on the word count?" And she was like, "Which one?" And she was like, "Well, you know, the 2,500 words. I'm already at about 3,000 words for it." And she was like, "It's 250 words, Tim."
Yeah.
So he got angry and he deleted it, didn't you, Tim?
No, it's about 30 words now, I think, isn't
it? Yeah. No, that ended up turning into a novella. I ended up doing something completely different for the other thing. Yeah. Yeah. So right, what we're going to do? We're going to take a very short break, and then we will come back, and we will carry on this discussion. And I assume we're going to have some commercial break courtesy of Harry Navarro, I assume. Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I loved what Callum did with it last time, so I'm hoping for more. So get on it, Callum. Right. Well, see you soon.
Yeah. Go, Callum.
Welcome back, folks. We're back with the 0 Hour Special Part 2 for this wonderful book, 0 Hour 2113 from Black Hair Press. If you want to get a hold of it on pre-order, that is how you do it. That's getbook.app/0 Hour 2113. And I actually got it the right way up this time.
Well done.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So while we were off, David actually mentioned that he's got the proof, the PDF proof. How many pages did it come in at?
I actually lied. It was it's 400. So, yeah. I didn't lie. I'm just hungover.
It wasn't a lie, but it was a lie.
It was a lie. Yeah.
It was a lie.
Those extra 30 pages.
How far over the limit did we go?
Quite far.
I know I did. I know I went way over. So,
it was one of those things that it's like it's basically it's supposed to be like everyone's supposed to do 6K stories each, and then there might be a few extra things thrown in, like drabbles or what have you, and forward, prologue.
I haven't read the drabbles yet.
The drabble. So and then there's the expectation that some people might go to 7, which like Tim might go to 7.5. But I was like, every time someone was saying to me like, "Oh, it's going a little bit over," was that okay? And I was like, well, some people will come shorter than 6, but it ended up being only one person I think came under 6. And it was quite substantially under 6, but then everyone went over 7 pretty much. Like, the last chapter is with all the extra stuff that goes into it, with like kind of decoders and stuff that we did, is almost 11,000 words. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So I'd say, didn't I hit like around about 6 exactly? Because that's what I was aiming for, something like that.
A little bit more than 6. I think it was about 6.5, but yours wasn't too bad over, so like.
But then, then you had to add all the coders to it.
Yeah. That was quite a big one. And then, like, I couldn't really complain because mine ended up being like 7,200 as well. So I couldn't
I think
really
mine
say
was something like 8.5 or something in the end.
Yeah, yours was pretty big, obviously.
All right, you put your clothes on.
And then obviously we've got about 8 Rabbles in it. There's about a 1,000-word epilogue. The prologue's about 800 words. So yeah, it's 90,000 words or something, I think, in the end.
Yeah, I've had the exact same problem with 13 Victims. Because I did the same as you. I was like, oh, Dave, you go over a bit, so I'm sure some people will come under. Nobody came under.
I'm having that problem as well at the moment with Coven 13.
Oh, yes, you're doing that, aren't you? Yes.
And people keep asking me, hey, I'm writing this thing, and does it matter if I keep it in the word count? Can I just go a little bit over? And it's like, more and more people are asking that question.
It gets like that, doesn't it? It's just like, crap.
The nature of it, though, it's just one of those things. It's like they're like proper books. Like there's a proper story all the way through it, so it's like it's hard to not just kind of go to town with it and just be like, because like I'm reading a book at the minute which is like 500 pages. That's just the way it is, I suppose. So whatever, they get they're getting banged for the book anyway. So
this is it.
Yeah. So it's going to be a big book. The hardback will be pretty big.
Oh, that's going to.
We could have easily, if we, I thought we could have easily written more.
Yeah, definitely.
The more we read each other, so we could have connected it more and carried on.
Yeah,
we could have done. That'll be all time for the sequel. And that's one of the things about Zero, because at the very start when we started talking about it, because obviously it's only set 100 years. It's not even 100 years in the future. It's like 97, 98 years or whatever. And like, there's a couple of people that were like, okay, so we can have like flying cars and all this kind of stuff. And it was like, it's only 100 years.
A bit ridiculous.
Was that Hewitt by any chance?
He was mad for a monorail.
That was it, the bloody monorail.
Yeah. I managed to get it in for him. I made a reference in a couple of them. I had to do something on there. But like, but it was like, it's only 100 years in the future, but also, so it's not going to be too crazy, but you also got to think of like what we were just talking about. 20 years ago, if you were editing a film, you had to cut the bloody tape and stitch it together. Now you can just record it on your phone, download an app and do it on your phone. So that's the kind of things you have to think about when you're doing something that's set in the future. It's like something that's ahead of our time, but something that's not absolutely batshit crazy, like flying cars around London.
That's why I really like the wiki page that was set up for the book at the beginning. It was an awesome reference to work off. It was like a Lonely Planet for London of 2013.
That was all Chris Hewitt. He just did that. He just he just did that straight away. Without even asking, he just did it, and it was great.
Yeah. Well, that's his way of working, isn't it? He's very much a plotter, isn't he?
Mm.
Yeah.
There's also
a complete
orientating. Yeah, because I think I spoke to Chris Banner at the beginning of all this about like because our storylines were kind of going along a similar kind of a pathway.
Yeah. And
then with that wiki page, it just made it so much easier where we could like split off, and she did that fantastic thing that she did.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm like you, Tim. I want to climb through that book and beat the crap out of that guy.
Oh man, tell you, yeah. I've not been so angry about a character in a long, long time. It's just like, I was reading it and I was just like, I can feel my fists clenching. It's like, oh, I just want to headbutt him. Yeah.
Because I think we were talking about gender a lot when it came to deciding on how our characters were going to be, and like male, female, and she just the way that she went was very, very cool.
Yeah,
I thought. Yeah. I think David did as well, didn't you, David? With your character, he's in a in a same-sex relationship, or I'm crap at reading these things?
There is a few things in that like that. I kind of just wanted to kind of with mine, with the main character's called Zoe. Like, I just kind of created like a little backstory for her that isn't even in the actual chapter, but it's just kind of hinted at a few times. Just that's because that's the way I usually work. I usually just make up the characters and then I just kind of just see what happens with them. But I kind of want to know everything about them in case I ever want to use them again for something.
I tend to do that. I tend to scribble bits down in my, because I've got fucking hundreds of notebooks. And I just scribble bits down like, he hates cheese. Shit like this. I'll probably never use it, but it's there.
Well, it was handy for this as well, because obviously, like with him and his chapter, there's quite a lot of crossover with mine as well, which is a cool thing about 0 Hour. There's a lot of diversity, and that's when Dean finished reading it. His first thing was like, it's so diverse. He loves the diversity of it. But there's also like a running theme through it as well. Like, you can chart, like, there's a storyline plot that goes through as well, which is touched on some of the chapters. But it's very strong through like Chris Hewitt's, mine, Ximena's, K.T, and it's like that through line with it. So it was handy to kind of have like this history of the characters, because like Ximena would come to me and say, like, you know, where would this person be at this time? And the KT was doing it as well. Where are the characters at this time of the day?
Yes, I remember that. And I was like, I think Kroon's putting his lipstick on in a shithole hotel room.
Yeah, because in my chapter, due to the ever-present surveillance presence, I checked in a lot with the other characters and what they were doing. So I was like, so what's everyone's character doing at around about 10 o'clock in the evening then? And sometimes I get replies like, oh, he's putting his lipstick on. And other times I get replies like, they're dead by now. It's like, okay, fine.
Yeah. They're dead. They're in considerable pain, and he's putting his lippy on.
I think you asked one of mine, and mine was like stuck in traffic in Shepherd's Bush.
Yes. The most British London answer ever.
Yeah, it is. Really is. Nice.
Last time we talked about this, it's funny as well. Like you said, what's everyone's influence, and like no one is really into cyberpunk all that much, especially the writing. It's nice that in one we actually do have someone that's into cyberpunk.
Yeah,
I'm into cyberpunk. Like, I watched when I was much younger, when I was a child, had a Super Nintendo, and I used to get the magazine for it as well. And
I did as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
was sort of probably quite a bit older, but I still got the magazines.
How old do you think I am?
I don't know. I'm not going there.
I look younger than I actually am. I'm quite ancient. And I'd get the magazine.
I do. It's all the makeup. I just hide behind it. It's a mask. I peel it off.
At the front of the magazines, they would have a review of anime, and you wouldn't be able to get anime in the UK at all. And it was still on VHS tapes. Yeah. And I saw a review that they had for Battle Angel Alita, the original animated version, and I fell in love with the pictures. And then I think it was about 10, 15, about 10 or 11 years later, it actually came to the UK where I could watch it. And I loved that. And then I watched Akira, and I was young and I had no comprehension of what the hell happened in that movie. I watched it with like, I don't know what that's all about.
It looks nice. It's like, it looks great. I love it.
I find that a lot with anime though. I just don't get it. I really don't. I sit there and I watch it and I'm kind of like, this looks awesome, but I have no idea what's going on.
And then Ghost in the Shell, obviously. I saw the film for Ghost in the Shell. But my favourite is still Battle Angel Alita, because I brought the graphic novels. I moved up near Manchester at one point in my teens and visited my first ever Forbidden Planet.
Ah, yes.
And it had so much manga, and I'd never seen any before. And so I brought the Battle Angel Alita graphic novels, which is a much longer story set in a dystopian ruling class over the people who live in basically a trash dump, and have really raw cybernetics kind of story. I think that really influenced my love of cyberpunk. So I come from that side of it, whereas I think a lot of my friends come from the sort of Blade Runner is the best movie ever kind of side of it. I call the goth side of it.
Yeah, that's definitely this group anyway, because everyone's like
guilty. Well, that was funny because you were talking about the influence. I mentioned the Running Man last time, but I've forgotten to mention that one of the big influences in my chapter was Hardware. Do you remember Hardware? What a film that was. Yeah. I mean, but we were talking about the goth side of cyberpunk. I mean, it's got the singer from the Fields of the Nephilim in it, for Christ's sake. Yeah. Take me to the little man. But you know, there's this, you know, the scene quite early on in it with the Turpin that gets bonkers. That was my homage to Hardware. In an incredibly crap, croon way, whacking at it with his cane. Where's my tit for? Yeah.
That's a cracking film. It's a cracking film, though.
Oh, it's a great film. But again, that's another one of those that kind of disappeared because there was some kind of dispute between the filmmaker and 2000 AD.
Yeah. He kind of got blacklisted for a very long time as well, Richard Stanley. So he's only just kind of popped up again. He did Colour Out of Space there recently. But he tried to do the... it's good. He tried to do the Island of Dr. Moreau with Val Kilmer and Marlon Brando. He got kicked off set, and then he dressed up as and sneak back on set. He kind of got blacklisted for a while after that, pretty much. Nice. So, yeah. Maybe he's croon in real life. That's something croon would do, I think.
Oh God, yeah. Crap disguise, put on a rubbish moustache or something.
I don't think there's much that he wouldn't do. Croon.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to create. Just this, this I really don't give a fuck character. You know?
Faganistic. Is that a
word? Yeah, he is very, especially with his, love the ollies and all that stuff. Well, that comes from Greg Cunningham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because he was like, "Oh, could Croon say something about this?" Because that happened a lot with mine. I mean, like with Ximena, with yours, because you came to me about your character, the Doctor.
Mori, yes, Mori.
Yes, because you came to me about that and said, "Yeah," because you were like, "Is there something you could do about, say something about this?"
Yeah. She was trying. Oh, what on earth did she do? Sorry, yeah. She was trying.
How much Prosecco have you had?
She said, that my character couldn't cope with the Oggs. So basically, I had a mental. My mind's just gone blank. But it was a way of linking it to the
alcohol absorbs like a bitter threat.
Yes.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does.
That rings the bell.
I can't believe that you, like, when I was talking to you at the start, you were like really nervous about cyberpunk and just sci-fi in general, and you were like, it's so out of my comfort zone. But like yours is like, I just, when you first sent me the first bit and you were like, I'm not sure if the technical side of it is correct or anything. And it was just like, so like what I think of as cyberpunk, it just nailed it straight away.
Yeah, well, thank you. I was, I kind of found myself trying to research if any of it was real, and then I would remember, like, it's actually not real. Like, I don't have to come up with something that is, like, I was trying to research the technology, like, how does it work? And then it was like, actually, that's matter because
research.
Yeah.
But like you, Katie, had said, if you have any questions about the tech, because you have like words for this stuff, you know, and this is because your passion, you see. And I kind of need to understand what I'm, you know, I need to understand something so that I can get my imagination going, you know, with some sort of confidence.
Yeah.
So yes, like the riots and all that, I could relate to that, you know, to real stuff, you know. So I was just using elements that were familiar to me, and yeah.
I liked how yours developed though from what the original idea, like the original idea was just like a very kind of simple kind of, it was only like a two-line kind of thing that we talked about, where it was like, this is like kind of what to explore, and it became so like intricate and like yours is like all the characters in it I've got like a history and a present, and they've all got their own motivations and goals, and the way it kind of intersects with the other stories as well, like it's like you wouldn't have thought you were not confident about writing about it from reading it.
Yeah, I was.
Well, I need to be. Yeah, I mean, I really didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. I really didn't. I was quite intimidated by the whole thing.
Well, I the same thing
it
with
took me ages. I wrote when I started. I wrote about 7,000 words and there was no story, and it was all to do with this with the character who wasn't even in the storyline that I was meant to be doing. You know, that was the father that had the conflict of whether he was going to.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just scared of what I can say, really. Yeah, it was just basically outside the storyline, and I had just written all these words that were just backstory, and I had no clue as to how I was gonna use that.
Yeah, but, Callum did the same thing with his Freaky Deaky cult. He wrote a whole backstory of the cult leader, which was absolutely superb. I loved Callum's chapter. And it was really interesting because I said to him, it really reminded me of the cyberpunk horror game, Observer. And also like bits of side quests in like Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, and he'd never played them, and I was just like, that's brilliant, because I love all that kind of stuff, like tech cults and, you know, freaky cult leaders and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna be, you know, massive bloody squid head, so I'm gonna like cults, aren't I?
Nothing wrong with that.
No, exactly. Interestingly, you've got his big brother there.
Hey!
I've got a little baby Cthulhu. One of my friends knitted this for me about 10 years ago. And I was DJing one night, and she came and presented it to me. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And I forgot to fade the track in and fucked it up completely. So Cthulhu killed my set. Yeah.
I still have his intergalactic cousin.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that reminds me, David. And you too, Tim. I was very disappointed in the last podcast because you guys completely, in my opinion, sold out to
Disney.
You sold out to Disney. You sold out to Lucasfilm. Yeah, because it's disgusting, really. That you lower yourself to that level. I mean, you're growing men, both of you.
I am not a man.
Excuse me. What was that? Okay. No, sorry. Continue. Sorry.
I don't want to speak for Tim, but if anyone wants to advertise his YouTube channel, I'm sure he'd be well happy. Anything.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry about that.
And I believe
let's get back to the book, guys.
Yes, this book goes to Netflix. What are you talking about? Why isn't it there? Mr. David.
Policeman.
Mr. David Green.
Yes.
Why don't we have a deal and with Netflix? Why? Where
Well,
is it?
That is above my pay grade, I'm afraid. That's something
that the first idea of how to do it.
That's you have to message Dean about that and ask him to start sending people.
Mr. Kershaw, yes.
Everyone on this and everyone listening, just keep messaging Dean until
yeah. Poke the Dark Lord. Yeah.
Well, that doesn't sound nice.
T-shirts, didn't it? Because last time I was whinging because while this is incredibly cool, I tend to go for T-shirts that are just logos across the man boobs.
Oh, you got one too, didn't you?
And he did it. Mine's ordered. It's supposed to be here on the 22nd, so it should be here in time for the launch event.
That's great.
Yeah.
Because the book won't be.
No, exactly. The book won't be, but we've got this, and we could have a T-shirt. There we go.
Yeah, we've got the merch, but we've got no books. But
Wow.
we'll live in.
Speaking of the merch, you want to check out the lovely merch. Black hair done. There's other stuff on there as well, just generic black hair stuff, and also stuff for his other David's other project, Whiskey Pete. So there you go. It's redbubble.com/people/black-hair-press. Sorry, we do product placement. We might as well place our own product.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Damn you, George Lucas.
Yeah. It's all turned into that scene in Wayne's World 2 a little bit then, wasn't it?
Yes.
You know, when time yellow. Yeah, I love that bit.
Wayne's World, great films. Yeah.
Your story and band actually reminded me of a mix between Wayne's World and Bill and Ted and the Devil.
Yeah. Well, I was going for that kind of heavy metal bozo. I mean, I influenced by obviously I've spoken about this before. My influence on that was a sketch in Hale and Pace, because they had the two stoner metalers, didn't they? You know, Jed and Dave. But also it was Bad News, because I love Bad News. It's just hysterically funny. You know, Jimmy Page wrote Stairway to Heaven when he was 23. I could play it by the time I was 16. What does that tell you? Just Adrian Edmondson's like crowning moment. Sorry, I'm getting confused with all my cardboard here. I'm dropping things. Oh God.
What's he doing?
Oh, I'm making a mess. Don't worry. I always do this. I set all this stuff up. By the end of all of it, it's all over the floor. Yeah. Yeah. So the release date is the 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to do a live thing on the 22nd on the Friday, aren't we, Mr. Green?
We are.
We are. Yeah. We've not got the guests yet, but we're getting plans and things like that. Yeah. Yeah, because I just think it's going to be. I think once word gets out about this, because it is very unique, I think people will go for it. You know, because I can't think of anything else like out there that's like even remotely. You what? Sorry.
Yeah. I was just wondering if anyone's read it. You know, anyone outside without any knowledge of it has actually read it and given an opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, like Dean read it. Like Dean didn't read any of it.
Yeah, but he still knew what the world was and everything. He would have still had some background, you know.
My partner read my chapter because she's basically my beta reader. Because she's got a master's in English, so she's a good one to get. Because she's really good at spotting my fuck ups. Now, Tim, you fucked that up again. Stop putting commas everywhere. And she, like the first draft I gave her, because I went really far in the sort of speak, because Chris Holtman did a lot of like Arabian slang and stuff in his chapter, which is a chapter in the fight pits, and it really worked in his chapter. And I tried to copy it. I tried to go with that. And she read it and she goes, I haven't got a fucking clue what this is actually, half of this stuff means. It's like, so I ripped it back, and then she was just like, yeah, the world is amazing, it's great, and she really liked it. But I think that was a really important thing in the writing process of my story, to have that no, just little sprinkles, just, you know.
Yeah.
So the thing with cyberpunk, it's easy to get carried away with the jargon, isn't it?
Yeah, I have two beta readers that brought up some really useful point in when I was writing mine, mainly along the lines of, I have no idea what your character looks like. Are they a squid?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Are they a squid?
Are they a squid?
But they're asking that because they know you.
No.
That's a
Or is
squid.
it because that's the word they're hinting at?
It's because my main character is androgynous and highly modified, augmentally modified, being the head of an augmentation company. So they're like, because of like intermingling with like the rich and the famous and stuff, they're at the high end of what augmentation can do, whereas a lot of the characters in the book are at like the low end of like, oh god, I need this, otherwise I'm gonna die. You've got like my character at the high end, where it's like, I can aesthetically look like whatever I want. I can look like an angel, I can look like a demon, I can look like, you know, some amazing squid. And because my character's fairly androgynous anyway, because that was the idea, I wanted to take gender out of it. It's like, what gender are you? Cyber. So yeah, that was like, I had to put in stuff to make it obvious what I was talking about when I was talking about how they were dressing or what they were wearing, because that was the main complaint I got. It's like, I can't imagine what they look like. Are they a squid?
It's interesting you were saying that about the androgyny, because I mean, because you're into very similar music taste to myself.
Yep.
And that end of it, you know, even people like Gary Newman is very androgynous, and that's always something that stuck with me with cyberpunk, that it is very androgynous, and you see it in clubs that people like it's all, you know.
Oh, I used to be a cybergoth. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bit of trad goth as well, but you know.
Too old and too. I was always too chunky to fit in PVC.
I wasn't a bright. Yeah, I did that. I wasn't one of the bright ponyful sort of big hair ones though. I was more of a
ponies. That's what I used to call them.
No, I kept my sort of Japanese anime roots on that one too, where everything's quite sleek, like the top I'm wearing now, with the quite sort of geometric, quite sleek, a lot of Matrix looking clothing.
Yeah, I was always an old rivet head, so I was always a rivet head. I mean, I used to have the undercut and the fucking braids and all that, and the Stetson and all that. You know? Yeah.
Who doesn't love a good hat?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
well, I certainly do when I go outside. Otherwise, I get a very burnt head wherever.
It's like, it's funny because you write a lot of noir and all that, don't you? Like, and your chapter in that is very noir, and in the sort of vein of Blade Runner. So I could see you in a fedora, you know, a long raincoat, lurking around the streets of Galway.
Yeah, I often wondered that. Do you own a trench coat, David?
I don't. No, I don't know.
Shouldn't he?
He should go and buy one. Shouldn't he,
Yeah.
Tim? Should go and buy one.
I would if I was allowed to go outside of the house, but I've not been outside of the house since 2019, I think.
Join the club.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think it was just a phase that I was going through for writing noirish stuff. And it's just kind of stuck now when I have to keep doing it. So, but no, like yeah, it's just I wanted to do like a detective story for this, because like some of my favorite cyberpunk. I'm gonna say cyberfunk then cyberpunk. It's just very different. Cyberpunk.
Jamiroquai.
He's drinking out of a coffee cup today, isn't he?
I suppose, Jamiroquai would be cyber.
What's in that coffee?
Huh?
What's in that? What are you drinking?
I was drinking coffee, but it's gone.
Yeah. That's why I saw a coffee cup, because last time you were drinking red wine.
That's true.
And we could see...
That was 9 in the evening.
it was constantly.
I was pissed as a parrot.
Right, I had what I did is
that you had some minions or some sort of serfs there that were like refilling your glass.
He did have an ever-filling glass, didn't he?
Yeah, but then I saw a slight roll of the shoulder.
Yeah.
At one point, and he was.
See what I do, right? When I'm doing it, the nighttime ones, where my laptop is, I have a bottle of red wine behind the laptop here, and I have my glass here, so I just get it.
Oh, it's in an optic. You just push it into an optic like that.
Yeah.
I just usually have like a 6-pack down by my feet. That's why you keep seeing me doing that. So I'm grabbing another can.
Well, yeah, so I wanted to do a detective story anyway, because like some of my favourite cyberpunk anime and video games, like Deus Ex, I suppose, is the big influence for me. Obviously Blade Runner, but they always have like this kind of noirish kind of feel to them. And I wanted to kind of carry on Chris's chapter, because I wanted to keep that, I just basically wanted to let anyone kind of do what they wanted to do with the thing within the sandbox. And if they wanted a suggestion, then that was great as well. But I also wanted to make sure that there was like a through line going through from the beginning to the end. So it was like, well, I'll make sure from my chapter that I'm doing that, so that I don't have to impose on anyone else that have to do this. So I was like, so with Chris's chapter, because someone gets murdered and they're quite a important kind of function in the world, it's like, well, someone would investigate this, so there has to be like a kind of follow up to his chapter. So I was like, well, I'll just do that. And I just finished writing.
It's absolutely fantastically written, by the way, Chris.
Right, we will come back to that. We'll just have to take another short break, unfortunately, because I've been ignoring the timer for like 20 minutes and it's coming up like that. It's like, crap. So, right, we're going to take another short break. Here's some more words from our sponsors, courtesy of Harry Navarro. Indeed. See you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, welcome back, folks. Welcome back, everybody. Just before we went, we were discussing Chris Hewitt's chapter, and as you said, Harry, about it being really well written. I loved the framing device in that.
So did I. I love that. I kept flipping backwards and forwards. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah, I thought that was a really clever way of doing it.
Yeah. I loved it, like this vibe, this like Roman vibe, as well as this futuristic vibe, like which encompassed everything that you want for a first chapter. It was so inspiring. I thought when I read it, I got so excited about.
It just set the world up beautifully, didn't it?
Yeah, he did a great job. I love how you said the Roman thing there, because that was the thing that I thought about it as well, was that these people that are racing, they're like chariots.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But like I was driving him nuts, because every time he was sending it to me, I was like, increase the speed, right? First one, he was like, I think he said something like they were running at like 25 miles per hour, and I was like, you know, footballers like run at about 30 kilometers an hour when they're sprinting. Like it needs to be faster, like faster. And then every time I was going back, I was like, faster, more speed.
Usain Bolt times 10.
Yeah. But like the way he describes it, when like those bits where the two guys are like colliding into each other, and he knows his body's about to give up, and like all his systems are all shutting down. It's like it's so visceral. It's great.
Yeah. He did have a bit of a Ben-Hur vibe, didn't it, with the chariots colliding, the guys of the chariots, which is brilliant.
Yeah. I think at first his idea was like Formula One cars was his idea, like people as fun. But as he was writing it, it developed more into this this kind of more like, I'd say like Chariots kind of thing, where it's like just these guys just looking for that little 1% that's going to put them ahead of people. It's just great. Which is what, you know, it's what.
And the pit stop as well. I love the pit stop. That was awesome.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I know, but carrying on from that, you had Chris Holtman's gladiatorial combat, because again, that had that kind of fight pit Colosseum vibe to it, didn't it? It was just like, patch these guys up, throw them in the cage, you know.
Yeah. And his chapter was like, all these like, when someone would kind of pitch an idea or send in a little bit of work, it was one of those where it was one of those where it's like, this is the great one for people to use to kind of link to other chapters, and having like a fight pit is something that's just great, because you can just like have anyone pop up in there or mention it. It could be one of these things that's like, even though it's like underground and it's not entirely legal.
I mean, that has a lot of links to my chapter.
Yeah.
That has a lot of links to mine. And through Hewitt's to mine as well, because you got the whole, there's a link from Hewitt's chapter through to that chapter through to my chapter, which leads to the revelation, which is really...
Don't ruin it!
I'm not ruining it.
I was going to say, don't mention the war with that with the bloody pendant. Jesus.
Oh, God almighty, yeah.
That was one of that was probably like, it wasn't really like, when you think of some of the other things that like how these projects can go wrong, this was probably the only instance where it was like, I think we just need to just knock this on the head, because this came in very late in the day.
I did it. Me and Chris Hewitt figured it out. It was everybody else that fucked it up.
Yeah, exactly. We had this idea, right? So I mean, we've all read each other's. So apart from the ending, but like KT has read everyone else's. So there's this pendant that Chris decided he was like, one of his characters gets it. It was one of Econ with an N. His character had.
Yes, Echo.
And
pillock. I thought I'd screwed up, and I went through my chapter and changed it all. It wasn't. It was him.
It was me. So there was this pendant. So it was like, this would have been about a week or maybe 10 days before the thing was due. He was like, it'd be a really good idea if we could get this pendant passed on along to Croon at the end of this chapter. And obviously by this point we'd set pretty much where the chapters were going to be. So I knew that like Chris's was the start and Tim's was one of the last ones. So what should have been a very, very simple thing that involved like maybe 2 chapters, just more people kept on getting like, right, you mentioned this pendant here, and then like we had this group chat where we had like about 5 people that had been involved in the chapter, and I went to do something one day, and I came back, and there must have been about 67 messages about this convoluted plan for where this pendant was going to like, and what's on the pendant, and what's inside the pendant, and what does the pendant mean to this person, and what could it be at this time, and where...
That was Hewitt and Holtman.
I know, I was like, lads, just get the pendant, give it to this person, and get the knife.
But that's what I love about it. There's all these little bits that crop up throughout the chapters. I mean, Alana's was another great example with the auger balls.
Yeah.
Which I love those.
I want one.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I want a penguin. I want a spy penguin.
The auger balls are fun. It's like fun to think about.
Damn you, George Lucas.
Oh, here we go again.
Sorry, Grogu.
The auger balls are great fun, but also they're also terrifying at the same point. It's such horrible cruelty to animals, but then it's like it's something that you would in this world would definitely happen.
Yeah, well, it's happening to people, isn't it? So
exactly, if the humans are doing it to themselves, then
everything's fair game, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the whole point of cyberpunk dystopia and stuff, isn't it? It's just like humanity has gone out the window. Yeah.
They'll be augmenting the Lucasfilm merchandise and all sorts of stuff. Extra limbs on Cthulhu.
A few more. You could do with a few more, couldn't you, Tim?
Yes, tentacles galore.
There's an idea for you, Tim, for another 13 projects. Cthulhu.
Ah, yes. Well, my novel, mate.
Yeah. You call it 13 limbs.
13 limbs. No, I want to do Carry On Cthulhu.
Yeah.
I think that would be a great idea. I want to do Carry On Cthulhu, you know. Awesome.
Oh.
Dream, isn't it? Eh? That's the dream.
Yeah, it is a dream. I've got to figure out a way of doing it, and I'm doing it. It's going to happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Yeah.
It'd be great to get the actual peak Carry On cast in some way, shape, or form back to do Carry On Cthulhu. Can you imagine?
Holograms or something. Yeah.
Kenneth Williams and Sid
I'm
James.
so glad to finally know how you pronounce Cthulhu. I always called it Cthulhu.
Cthulhu, I call it.
Cthulhu?
But the whole point is you're not supposed to be able to pronounce it.
Ah.
Okay.
Lovecraft himself pronounced it both Cthulhu and Cthulhu. So, there you go.
That's one of those things about when people make things. It's like a guy who made GIFs, and then like about 10 years later, it's like, actually, it's called GIF. And
GIF.
It's like,
No.
It's a fucking GIF.
No.
Well, it's graphic, isn't it? So it's a hard G.
Yeah. But it's funny though, like he made it, and everyone was just like, no.
Nope.
But I'm a big, like you know, Tim, but I'm a big Wheel of Time fan, and I do a Wheel of Time podcast with someone else. And the funny, one of my mates has started. He was a lapsed Wheel of Time reader, and he's picked them up again, and he's listening through them on the audiobook. And he's like, there's two people that do the audiobooks at the same time, like and they do our voices, and like they pronounce all the names completely differently to each other, and it's like, yep, that's what everyone does. Like no one.
Yeah, it's funny. You get the same thing when you watch the panels at Necronomicon, the Cthulhu convention in Providence. When you watch the videos of that, and you get these panels, and they're all pronouncing everything completely different.
Yeah.
So you got somebody saying, "Oh, it's Toshogua." No, Safogua.
Can I say something?
God. Hey?
Can I say something without you hitting me?
I'd have to have a bloody long arm to hit you in Italy, mate.
I'm sorry, I have never read it.
Really? No.
No. Should I? Should I?
Yes.
Okay.
You should.
I did watch a film, a Spanish-English film, Dogon.
Dagon.
I love that.
I love
Great
that.
film. Well, that's based on Shadow over Innsmouth.
I was going through some stuff and I found an old DVD that I had of it because I used to live in Spain. Did you know that?
No.
I know.
Is there a country you haven't lived in?
Sorry, Ximena, I cannot speak Spanish. I cannot speak Italian either, but don't tell anyone.
Your name is Navarro, though.
No! Bit of a story behind that one. For another time. Anyway, so that film,
Don't you have a sister that speaks Spanish?
yes, I do. She's an author as well. Am I?
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah.
Thank you, David.
Yeah.
No, she writes children's books, and she lives in
I saw that. Yeah.
in Granada.
Yeah.
So,
And she speaks Spanish.
so Harry.
And you live in Italy and you don't speak Italian.
No. I can say some
You
words.
just snag everybody, don't you?
Would you like me to say a few? No, I won't.
Sorry?
A few Spanish.
Harry, I've got a question for you.
Go on then.
What countries in the world have you not lived in at this point?
Yeah.
I've lived in New Zealand, a country called the Isle of Dogs. Maybe you've heard.
It is its own bloody country. Really.
It seemed like it at the time.
Yeah.
Spain and Italy.
Okay.
That's it.
That's quite a lot still for most people.
It is, but I don't get out much. I mean, the coronavirus or COVID-19 it really hasn't changed my lifestyle much at all.
Yeah, to be absolutely honest, I rarely did anything except the only times I went out was when I was DJing. I used to be, when I was younger, I was out all the time. I was never in the house. But as I've got older, I've become more and more and more just antisocial. It's just,
Yeah.
People, who needs them?
He says in a group interview.
in a group interview,
Yeah.
Making a list.
Yeah.
Green. He's out of here. No, I always tell this story, which is probably not true, about Sean Connery, how he was married to a French woman.
Yeah.
And he could not speak French, and he owned properties in France. So I'm thinking, a bit like Sean.
A little bit.
No. Yeah.
Apart from the,
My favourite story about Sean Connery. My favourite story about Sean Connery was actually a friend of mine who used to live in Cambridge. He used to live in Cambridge, and he went to. He was at the university, and he went out one night with a few friends, and they were in this restaurant, big posh restaurant thing, and Sean Connery was in there with his agent, and one of his mates. This is apparently true. How much I believe it, I don't know, but I hope it's true, because his mate went up to it. I just said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Connery, I've got to ask, what was the best shag you've ever had?" And apparently Connery sort of looked pensive, so he walked away thinking.
I thought you were going to say who was the best Bond, but
so he thought he'd upset him, right? And he's finishing his meal, and Sean Connery gets up and he's walking out, and he comes over and whispers in his ear, "Petula Clark, 1969, up the arse." I hope that's the
story.
Classic Connery, some might say.
Yeah, exactly. That's why part of me thinks it's true.
You want it to be true, it is true.
I so want it to be true.
That's life these days. If you want something to be true, then it is true. So that's the way. I have a Connery, like my favourite Connery story is a lot tamer than that, unfortunately. But
Don't bother then, David.
I know, but I've started now, so I have
Go on.
So, like, he got offered the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings and turned it down. Yeah. He said he didn't understand the script, which is kind of weird. But anyway, he was in Zardos, and how do you not understand the script of Lord of the Rings?
Zardos, I remember that one.
And then he got offered the role of the architect in The Matrix and turned that down because he didn't understand the script. And then, like big hit.
Yeah.
Big hits. So apparently, he said to his agent, "Next time I get a script that I don't understand, I'm going to accept it because obviously I'm doing something wrong." So the next one that he got was The Extraordinary League of Gentlemen.
Oh, what a steaming
that was his last film too, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he hated it so much he retired from acting after he finished.
Isn't that like voted like one of the worst films of all time?
Yeah.
You see, it's like even worse than Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh, it's not that bad.
Plan 9 from
I mean, I love Plan 9 as well, but nah. I mean, I don't know. I don't think League is that bad a movie. I don't know. I could sit with a hangover and a cup of coffee, and if it was on TV while I was playing with my phone, it wouldn't bother me. Yeah. Unlike a Razorhead, which I would turn off. I
personally love
David Lynch.
Yeah, he's great, but I got shown a Razorhead by my first boyfriend when I was 15, and I was not prepared.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever prepared for a Razorhead.
and I've never wanted to watch it again since.
Imagine how's that conversation go? I've got something really special to show you tonight.
Oh,
yeah. Love it. Prepare.
He is the guy who also showed me Videodrome, though. So,
which is amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Date night. David Lynch. Yeah.
Cronenberg and Lynch is a good combination. Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever see Cronenberg's Shivers? I watched that when I was quite young. I was just like, this is bonkers. You got these leeches climbing into people and making them shag each other to death.
Oh, I've seen half of that.
It happens, Tim. It happens.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
Write about what you know. Yes.
I'll tell you what, Tim, this is a very blue installment of After Hours for something this early in the morning as well.
Yeah. Well, you know me, if there's a tone, I'm lowering it.
Like, this is disgraceful. There's children listening.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to bring the child out again, are you, David?
No, he's busy.
He's sleeping.
No, he's not sleeping. Jeez, he doesn't sleep during it. He's not had a nap for since Christmas 2019. It's been a very, very long quarantine period.
Bless him.
Yeah.
It's like when we have video meetings in the afternoons sometimes about some projects we were on, because we have like a group chat about 13 Moons, like trying to fix it. And yeah, sometimes Ollie invades it.
He does. Yeah. He does. He hears.
There was a dragon.
That child. I was talking about.
Oh, this child.
That child.
Oh, that child.
The child.
There
he is.
Are we trying to get sponsorship at this point?
Great.
We'll do whatever we can, Katie.
Yeah. Tim's saying my child invades our conversations. When Tim was vaping one time, he thought Tim was a dragon, which is an easy mistake to make.
Yes, mate.
And,
Dragon by day, DJ by night. Author somewhere in between.
Yeah, author at some point.
And you said funny because it's true.
It is true.
Yes, there we go.
And one day he heard us talking about stories, and he decided to go and get all of his stories and bring them to the computer and start reading those stories about Peppa Pig and stuff like that. So it was, it's been an odd year.
What about my faux pas?
Oh man, I got in so much trouble about that.
Did you? Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was there.
I can't even remember what it was you said now, but you repeated it about 100 times.
I'm fucking off to Belgium. That was it. Yeah, and I just hear it in the background, the little kid going, I'm fucking off to Belgium.
It's not funny.
Oh, no.
He, later on that day, he said it a few times, and then he stopped saying it. I was like, oh, that's good. He's forgotten it, which is unusual for him. And then his mum came home, and then he went and like opened the door and was going up the stairs, and she was like, "Where are you off to?" And he was like, "I'm fucking to Belgium," and I was like, "Oh no."
No. I've got one of those, David.
A child.
Yeah, a boy.
A little boy.
Yeah, a little boy, but he's just turned 12 and he's rubbish because he's very smart and he's well into Star Wars and every night it's like, Dad, I want to read you a story. I'm going to tell you the story that I've made up. Right, so he's told me a few stories and I'm thinking, yeah, that's a good one. So I published a story with Black Hair Press and one of the 500 stories, and then I told him, and he said, "Dad, that's my story. You took my story, and it's got your name on it."
Plagiarism.
Yeah.
And I said,
plagiarized your own kid.
we came up with that story, and he's like, no, that didn't happen. So he let that one pass, and then there was another one that I submitted, and I changed the gender of the main character, and he said, "Is that all you're going to do? You're just going to change it from a male to a female, and then claim it as your own?"
There we go.
Yeah, he's just turned 12. He's angry.
All to look forward to.
Hormones. Yeah.
I know.
Your
got a lot to look forward to.
So how many of your stories have you actually have been ghost written by your son? I think that's the main.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to actually watching this, are they? So pretty much.
Not by now. I think by now they're
All of them.
Oh man!
Don't tell Dean though.
Don't tell Dean.
Don't tell Dean.
Need to redo all these contracts.
Yes.
I love that.
Because my daughter submitted a piece of art for the book, didn't she? Didn't she, David?
Oh yeah, I meant to mention that because I mean the creativity we got out of this was amazing. I mean, some of the drawings that you did, KT, were amazing. Stunning.
That sketch of Kroon, the one that I cleaned up, I'm so glad I actually got to finish that. I'm so glad I remembered I had it. And then
I really liked that. That was spot on. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so glad I got to finish that. It was funny though, because when they sent me the contract the other day for the art, they were like, "Yeah, we want to include all 5 pieces," and I'm like, 5? Like, I didn't draw 5. And they're like, "Oh no, there's these as well." And I was like, "That's not mine."
What's happened? Oh, there she is. Your camera went. Drop the camera.
Hang on, let me see.
There we go.
Okay.
That was my fault. What I did, I had folders for everyone's work, and this one must have just been put into the group chat from someone, and I was like, well, it's good, so it must be KT, so I just put it into KT's folder.
Yeah.
And then well through to Dean, and like obviously, so I don't know whose that was, and I was like, well, it's not in the book. Great ones, and Chris Mary Holtman's sister has.
Oh, that was a nice one.
Written a song.
It was good. That
He's done some art as well, which has written a song for it as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's on the we got the group chat thing.
They can use that. They can use that in the Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah. But no,
you laugh, David Green. You laugh.
I laugh. I love life, Harry. I
know. I can see it.
Can you see it in my eyes? Can you see the
face? Yeah.
light around my eyes? How much I love life.
Yeah.
It's just I can't get enough.
Joy, isn't it, David?
It's just every single moment of my existence is just fantastic. I just crave. No, but in all seriousness, though, I'm delighted with how this has turned out, and I'm very, very proud to have my name with all your names. So I think it's great.
No, you should be
That's
proud,
nice
mate. I mean,
yeah,
such a great concept. You know.
Who came up with that concept?
I don't know. Some idiot.
Some idiot.
But like, a concept is one thing. It's just like getting people to it's the work that carries it. Like, it could be a good concept and just have nothing behind it, but the work has elevated the concept of it, and that's the main thing.
I will say that the ending went through several different versions, because I discuss all my plans with my husband, and like, I knew what character I was playing, and I knew obviously what had to happen, that David had set out. This mysterious thing is happening, but the reasons why. It's okay. I'm not gonna say what it is, but like, the reasons why changed drastically through what we had discussed. There were some very, very silly things talked about with my husband. You might have got your army of evil penguins with some of the stuff that was said, Tim. Like,
there's no evil penguins.
No, unfortunately, the evil cyber penguins did not make it into the final.
Man. They're going in the sequel. I'm having them in my chat.
Oh yeah.
The sequel.
Sorry.
But yeah,
Army of Ad Technica penguins.
Yes. Why does our new drone look like a penguin?
Waddling down Shepherd's Bush.
Market research says that people don't fear penguins as much. So yes, all of our drones are now going to be penguin shaped.
You see, like, you laugh about it, but it was foreshadowed a little bit in Alana's chapter, because Technica are interested in the animal organ tech.
Yep.
And you know, there could have been a reason for it. Who knows?
I wrote so much that never got in the book about Ag Technica. Like I got like a pie chart, the graph thing of like all the people who, like the names of the top people who work there and who does what and how they're augmented and
Only there was going
roles
to
in
be a
the
sequel.
company.
I would love to read all that. I would love it to be in book.
Like
To do a
I just,
director's cut.
if they do make a Netflix series, like they can come to me and I'll tell them exactly what the building looks like and where everything is and what their set design should look like. I planned out so much stuff.
I can just give them reams and reams of croon dialogue that never made it into the book. I literally wrote notebooks full of it, just him prattling on. So,
I'll go into the sequel. We can have fun with a sequel whenever we get to do that. Probably later this year, maybe.
Equal is
what?
it's not going to be like the 2 weeks later, is it? It's going to be
100 years later.
The title.
that's like starting all over.
Yeah, so the title and the title I'm kind of thinking of at the moment is After 0 Hour 2213. So 100 years later, and that is mainly because
you've got to get 13 in the title.
You have to get 13 in the title for a start.
Well done.
And as well, like I really like time jumps in a lot of ways. I just wrote a sequel, which is literally the last scene is the first scene of the last scene of one book is the first scene of the next book, and it's like it's good in a way, but it also traps you in a way where you kind of like I have to follow this up. With a time jump, you can have some kind of fun with it. You can bring people back in creative ways. You can bring completely new sort of situations. But also, like one of my big influences as a reader and a writer is Dan Simmons' Hyperion book, which I love. I think it's one of my favorite books, and it's kind of cyberpunky as well. But then his sequel to that is called Fall of Hyperion, and it's set centuries later. And it's like, and again, he brings some characters back in some kind of creative ways that you wouldn't really expect. And I just thought that like that would suit our story quite well as well. So that's the idea at the moment. And it's just, we'll take a little break. We'll see what people think of 0 Hour, and we'll go back to it. Anyone who wants to come back onto it
and see when there's actually going to be time for a schedule for it.
Exactly.
There's now hundreds of 13 projects.
Oh God, yeah.
The encouraging thing is though, when Dean has been working on getting it, he was working on it the other night, and then he kind of like I think he slept for about 4 hours, and he messaged me. It would have been about 6:30 in the morning his time, and was like, I just dreamt about 0 Hour all night. I have to get up and finish this.
That's not weird.
I can't wait for him to go do the same thing with 13 Victims then. The tentacular dreams.
The best dreams.
The best dreams, exactly. Right.
I'm lucky.
I'm going to start wrapping this up now because we're heading up to time. So, the book we've been talking about is this little beauty, 0 Hour. Hold it to the camera, you moron.
There we go.
0 Hour 2113 from Black Hair Press. We've got This Is How You Get Hold of the Book. It's on pre-order now. I'm right in saying it's cheaper at the minute pre-order?
Yeah, 99
for the
ebook. Yeah,
99p for the ebook. What a bargain. So there you go. It's getbook.app/0 Hour 2113. That is from Black Hair Press. www.blackhairpress.com. Callum will also be putting it on the screen, but I like my cardboard. Okay, so today we have been joined by the mastermind of 0 Hour, Mr. David Green. If you want to check out his stuff, that is davidgreenwriter.com.wordpress.com.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Doesn't it just? Got a nice easy. I like the easy ones. It's like last time, Chris Banner, www.chrisbanner.com. Easy. Yeah. This time we've got one that I've got to say, Katie, I love the name of your thing, your website. There we go. It's eldritchhollow.com. Nice. Eldritch-hollow.com. Awesome.
Comes with tentacles.
Tentacular. I love it. Right, now we've got a more complicated one from Mr. Navarro. That's Linktree, but there's an annoying little dot thing
Sorry about that.
between the R and the E's.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's the website.
Well, I know.
It's Linktree/Harry Horror. Right there. Yeah, there we go. So that's Linktree with a dot between the R and the E's /Harry Horror. What else we got? That's Greg's. He's not even here.
Yeah, he didn't bother turning up. He's rubbish.
Ximena, I haven't actually got the piece of
Yeah,
cardboard.
don't bother with mine. Don't bother.
You should. I'll put it under the video anyway.
He there.
No, don't worry.
No.
Thanks for coming on all the way from Australia as well.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. You know, and
It's my pleasure.
Showing us out a guzzle
Hope you're enjoying your new home.
Yeah. Well, I'm not home. I'm on holiday, as I said. But
In your country.
Yes, new country.
Yes.
Yeah.
How long
Good.
were you in quarantine for?
2 weeks. 2 weeks, but it was great because it was so stressful. It was so hard leaving. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, ripping my children from taking them away from their friends. And that, it was nice that we had landed in a 3-bedroom apartment overlooking Darling Harbour.
Oh.
And it was just brilliant, actually. It was like we had that time. We didn't have to see anyone, It was just nice to be able to sleep, and we had all this light coming in. It was just all windows and a balcony. It was actually amazing. I loved it.
Nice. Yeah.
I was like, okay, we have to go now. But yeah, it was good. It was a much needed timeless period. Yeah.
And they said quarantine's over, and you said I don't want to leave. I'll just stay for a couple more weeks.
And came to Ireland shortly before she left Europe, and she didn't even come and say hello.
Oh, that's rough.
Rude.
That is.
I was in Dublin.
Rude.
And I should have been in Dublin. You shouldn't tell the world.
You could have just waved.
Yeah.
Dublin, yeah.
It was
It was legal. It's okay.
Yeah. It's only 200 kilometers away from my house. Like, it's just terrible.
We weren't supposed to go anywhere. We went stayed with friends and we couldn't go anywhere because the pubs were shut.
Yeah.
Then what else is there to do? Yeah.
What's the point in going to Dublin when the pubs are shut? That's the reason to go to Dublin, isn't it?
I'm hearing excuses.
Yeah.
You could have just come to my house.
Parks and
You could have just come to my house and drank in my house like everyone does in Ireland. They just stay in the houses and drink. That's done.
I was made when I went on holiday down. I've got a friend of mine lives down in Cork. We went out one day and he goes, right, we're going for a drink. And we walked into the post office and I'm like, why the fuck are we going in the post office to drink? And they were all standing around drinking pints of beer in the post office. They actually had a pump in the post office. Ooh. They do that down there, like you got like general stores that you can go in and buy a pint and do your shopping. It's just bonkers. Yeah.
There's a great place in Cork as well called the Franciscan Well, which is like an old priory, which is also a place where you can go and drink. It's just
I'm sensing a theme here.
The whole thing, but that's what you could have done, Ximena. Anyway, you could have come to Galway. You could have sat in my garden and drank, and you said,
"Too late now."
I would have had to take out my friends as well and my kids.
Fine.
No,
we would have exceeded the cap of I don't know how many people were allowed to get together.
That is
actually,
true.
They had roads blocked and everything. Like it was, it was.
It's crazy.
Like. That's
the thing. I would have a drink with you.
Yeah.
That's the thing in like Ireland, they do that a lot. They just go around each other's houses, not knock, just walk in, crack open the beers, and Whereas we're up in Macclesfield. If you want to get pissed, find a field. You guarantee it there'll be people in a field on the hills, like on the Peak District, just sitting there getting pissed. Looking down at Manchester getting hammered.
Yeah.
Right.
Anywho.
So, last and least, That'll be me. That's timmendeeswriter.wordpress.com. So, and also, once again, we've got the merch, which is redbubble.com/people/blackhairpress. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. It's been great. I'll get this off to Callum so he can tinker with it. Thank you for joining us all the way from Australia. Thank you for joining us all the way from Italy.
Lovely to see you all and hear your voices.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's always strange, isn't it? Because I think sometimes you get I imagine a lot of you know what I sound like when I'm bollocking on, because I'm always bollocking on.
Yes.
But yeah, when you hear other people, you don't know what they're going to sound like. It's quite interesting. Yeah.
People always like, you don't sound as Irish as I thought you were going to sound. It's like I'm just because I lived in
Irish
most of my life.
Yeah.
Other people are like, I love your Irish accent. It's like, I don't sound Irish.
You sound like me. You sound like a Manc.
The existence of this.
You're the smallest winter the world has ever seen. To your grandma, start fucking on my eggs. You're gonna won't miss me for thousands ahead. If it all comes out, just smile at it.
The existence of this